vividly.
Someone got roped into that, and I was like, I don't know.
Yeah,
anything about
that's what I said, and he's like, you weren't there, I'm like, I wasn't there, I'm like, but certainly, and the company bringing back, it really, it was about this one, the one she knows, yeah, from TV, that's all in now, but
Where's the one
not
money?
gonna be.
Or here?
Which one?
Yeah, the handheld, that's fine. Yes, sir.
Not the owl thing.
It is.
Oh,
It looks like an owl on this side, I don't know if you can see it. It's
oh, I see the two eyes.
got eyes,
Yeah.
right?
Pretty cool.
Incredible. I've never seen him in action. The owl.
We used one. Destination Cleveland used one at the Rock Hall in the auditorium, and it worked great, even in that big of a space.
Really?
They set it on the stage, and everyone was up in the gallery, and it was.
They get great reviews.
Yeah. Pretty well.
No, we're trying to move office space. So when you do the new conference rooms, people tell you, you don't even need to set up.
In person or remote?
It's supposed to be in person, but I haven't, not on remote.
The only issue you get into, like if we had microphones and a PA system, it wouldn't know, it would just keep on looking at the speakers on the PA.
I said I have to leave at 12:30, so. Are you talking about the councilwoman? She's here, she went to the restroom.
No, we're trying to.
Oh, sorry.
The young signs down in the building?
Oh, they took it down. Yeah.
Yeah, I really, same, I could take a couple extra minutes, but I really got to go. Didn't walk
Oh, at the other side of
from
Mayor,
home
he,
this morning, I'm walking all day today.
Mayor, he joined the remote.
Thank you. Sorry, thank you.
So by the way, I'm not good. Oh, okay. So it's true technically, but it's over on the other side of the line trying to get rid of it.
All right, good afternoon. Let us call to order the meeting for the, do I have to hold this?
No, you don't have to have that.
All right, good afternoon. Let us call to order the meeting of the Cuyahoga County Convention Facilities Development Corporation Board for the date of Wednesday, November 8th, 2023. Let the time be reflected at 12:02 p.m. Julie, can you please call the roll?
Yes, Debbie Berry,
Here,
Jeff Epstein.
Here.
David Gilbert. Majid McClue.
Here.
Trevor McAleer.
Here.
Michael Obi,
Here.
Tim Oftermatt,
Here.
Rashonda Smith. Rashonda,
Here.
thank you. And Mayor Sellers.
Here. Before we move to public comment, we all have the agenda in front of us. So, we'll discuss the 24 annual plan and budget. We have a portion for public comment. We have a sign for public comment.
Yes, Mayor, we have Sunny Simon here to talk about the bird issue.
All right, so we have Councilwoman Sunny Simon from Cuyahoga County, County Council. Sunny, we're gonna turn the floor, Councilwoman, we're gonna turn the floor over to you there for public comment. Do we have a description of public comment? Oh, okay, the birds, all right. So we have down there, up here. You can,
I guess I'm your first public comment, right?
You are.
Yes.
yeah.
History. Yeah. We haven't had.
I'll make myself comfortable.
Please do.
Thank you. Hey, good afternoon, board members. I'm Sunny Simon. I'm the county council representative for District 11 and chair of the environmental committee at the county council. I'm pleased to be here today and want to just give a piece of history that the county council and this body have shared a collaborative relationship since the inception of the new government, which has been over 12 years ago. We have a strong relationship and we've been able to work through the building of a hotel and all the other structures that had to be part of this plan, because when we were sworn in, this was already part of the plan, but we had to implement it. I understand that today there's some concern about the request for a portion of your budget being dedicated to some bird safety film and glass. This is a small portion of your budget. I want to point that out. And the history here is that county council has always made the Hilton, this board, these structures a priority. There's never been a time when county council had said no to any request from this body, not once. In fact, the most recent request, as you know, was to upgrade the Global Center for Health Innovation to the tune of $41 million. This council stood by that. This council was taking heat. I have to remind each and every one of you that routinely, this council was attacked by local media, by the residents, our constituents, because we were going to invest in the Global Center, knowing that that was best for the future of this county, for the county. We didn't say no. We took heat routinely. Chris Quinn, Cleveland.com. So when there's a concern that was raised just recently that somehow the $750,000 is gonna blow up your budget in the next 2 years because we have to replace this glass, I think historically, when you look to that, is not a real concern. This council would never say no to this going forward because this is the heart of our county and what we've invested in for 12 years. So I want to bring up that point. And secondly, the cost of this, I have to say, is probably not as high as what's being projected. I think it's going to come in lower. The Public Works Department of the county has already put film up at the Justice Center, which was way low, and it's effective. And I just talked to people at the Bronx Zoo who are doing this, who also said it can come in lower. So the cost concern, I think, can be off the table. I have stats on birds. I know that the designee of the executive asked for how many birds are killed. I have all that. That was available at my committee meeting when Ms. Berry attended. Most of these questions should or could have been answered at that time. So this council expects this board will be coming back in the future, our county council, with future requests. And we hope that this relationship continues to be strong when you come to us for requests, because our county council strongly supports doing the right thing for the migratory birds. We want this. Council President Jones wants this. My colleagues want this. This is important to us. It should be important to all of you, because I don't know if you know that just recently in Chicago, 1 million birds, migratory birds, died in one day. And we're not talking sparrows here, by the way. I don't know if anybody knows this. There was some misconception. These are, little sparrows that we see in our yards or cardinals. These are birds that migrate. These are rare birds. These are migratory birds. And they go from Canada to Central America twice a year in a migratory route, north to south, south to north. And they stop here. We're unique. We have a lake, we have a nature preserve, and we have a mall. And they rest here before they take flight. Hummingbirds, you know how small those are and how essential it is that they have a resting spot. Unfortunately, when they built the vents or the glass, they never contemplated that this was going to be an issue. But in fact, it is. So one day in Chicago, 1 million migratory birds died because they crashed into their convention center. I don't think we want to be that convention center. I don't think we want to do that. New York is dealing with these issues. So Bird Lights Out is a local chapter of an organization that's dedicated its time to doing surveys. They walk the beat every migratory season. They find where the dead birds are most found. I have stats. It's the mall and it's Global Center. I'm just asking, our council's asking that we address those vents. We can do that in a creative way. We could do it in a safe way. We could do it in an economical way without jeopardizing the money that's already part of this budget. So I'm asking you today that you do this. I think if we really care about the environment, the executive cares about the environment, which he professes to care about, that this should be a huge priority. Because let me tell you, if we continue to see these birds dying around here and we have a way to fix it, it's not going to look good any one of us. I'm doing my best to make sure that the county moves forward in a global community. And by the way, we've lost billions of migratory birds since 1970. Climate change, the stressors of that, we don't want to lose an ecosystem. We don't. I don't think any of us do. Here's a way to fix it. And I think we can come in lower than what's been projected. And so it's my hope, my county council hopes, President Jones hopes that this board will do the right thing, budget this, and we will always have the back of this board in our convention center and global center, because that's important to us for our economic future. And by the way, bird watching is an economic development driver. We have people coming from all over the country here to look at what birds we have that are unique and rare and important to all of us as a global community. So that is my ask. I think we can do this, and I hope today that every one of you will look forward into the future and know that we can have a win-win. I appreciate your time, and I'm sorry if I exceeded the
Thank
time
you.
limit.
We didn't have a lot of people there. Thank you, Sonny. All right, we will move to the portion of the agenda, to go to Jeff Applebaum for the bird safety issue and budget implications.
Okay, so, just very, very quickly, so this, we did investigate the issue. There was a study, that was done, by Ohio Lights Out. And there is a presentation that you had that I made, before, Councilwoman Simon's committee. There was a determination, that 62% of the issue, did appear, at the malls, which is really what we're focused on right now. We did spend $410,000+ to put bird glass on our expansion. And that was, by the way, regardless of policy, the city only would give us conditional approval if we did put bird glass there. So that's spent, that's done, that's part of our budget. I was asked some questions after our last meeting. One was, what do other cities do about this? Some cities do have legislation. New York has legislation. All the legislation is prospective. It's all about new buildings. There's no clear guidelines as to what you do, with buildings which are already in place. So I just want to be clear that that's where these things are at. We did, as you can see in the presentation, we did look at solutions for the malls. Now, in terms of cost, I do want to say that the number that was inserted in the budget is one of the foremost entities that does do this work was asked to price the project. It was priced a few different ways. The number that you have is sort of and it was put in by ASM at $700,000. It's sort of a mid sort of a number. Now, it is possible, we have not yet gone out. We have not yet competitively bid. We have not yet talked to the county about whether if they use their own management. Matt Reimer did on his, instead of using subcontractors, he did separately retain labor to do part of it, which could be a cost savings. So we don't know, until we competitively bid, we don't know exactly where this cost will be. We also have not explored, by the way, one thing I will also point out here is these are prices from an entity that actually does this work. It is possible on the these surfaces. There may be someone who's not at all involved in putting film up on these windows, but keep in mind, all we have to do there, you don't have to see through it, it just has to be opaque. So we talked about possibly doing artwork. It's possible that somebody else that does put film on buildings that's not in this business would come in with a different price. And it's also possible you might have grants if you could find someone who wants to sponsor artwork. None of that has been explored. At this point in time, it's only a plug number in a budget, to look at what might be possible there. But it's a plug number based on the best, good information at the time, because we did go out and we did talk and we did get pricing, but that's what that number is. The point, I want to make one other point, and this is going to be a lead in to, I think, what George and others are going to talk about here. How it works with budget implications. And, when this issue first arose, when it came up, there was a belief that if it did cost, and whether it's 500, 600, 400, 700, I don't know, but if we spend that money next year, the belief initially was that we would be in the red everyone knows the history with the money that has been taken out of the account, that we would actually be in the red in the first year. You're going to see a budget, you're going to see cash flows that have now been done that actually show something a little different. Because I want to be clear, it will show that we could spend this money next year and still have a balance next year, which means we would not have a deficiency. We would not go back to the county next year to ask for any funding on this if we wanted to do it, because we wouldn't be in a deficiency. You're also going to see, though, that in future years, we will be in a deficiency. And obviously, if you spend $600,000 or $700,000 next year, the fact that you have a deficiency the following years, would be, that would drive it, and you'll see that. So the question I think for the board is, because you're not going to be able to this year unless you did something different. It's not a question of saying, okay, county, we have a deficiency, will you fund it? Because next year you won't. You'll pay for it, or we'll pay for it if you do this. Question then becomes, though, in the following year, because we will have a deficiency, we will be going back to the county, and we will be asking for money for other needed capital repairs. So the question then becomes, and the driver of it, part of the driver will be this cost. I mean, there's no question about it. So the question is, and at that point in time, we will have a deficiency. We will go to the county. The county makes a decision then at that point in time as whether they're going to fund the deficiency or not. Are they going to fund the deficiency? Because there's going to be other capital repair items, which are very critical that we're going to need. So the question at that point in time is, will it be taken care of? Or will it not? Because the one thing you then have to balance is, are we now saying it's this capital repair versus some other capital repair? And they're all critical on the list. So I just want to make very clear that that's kind of the conversation where we're at right now. And this is based on, there have been some meetings and discussions about how this would work. And I think that's a fair statement as to how this would come about.
Sure, we're good.
Jeff, regarding the 700,000, if we work it out with Public Works, our trades could put these on if that's like, there's nothing that would prohibit our trades from doing this.
Well, I'm just gonna say this, your trades are still Union Cleveland building trades. There would have to be a consideration as to which trade is appropriate.
Okay, and it was our laborers that did the justice.
It was 310. And I don't want to get into the question as to whether for doing this work on the malls, it would necessarily still be 310.
Okay.
So I can't say that for sure, because there may be a view as to, when you do it, you did your own building there with 310 on the malls. I don't know that.
And is the product that we're talking about that's included in the 700,000, is that the same product that we use at the Justice Center? Do you know?
The product, the dot product is.
Okay, might not be the exact same, but it's
the 3M. No, it is the same. It's the same 3M. Now, keep in mind that that's a product that you priced and got, a couple of years ago. Matt Reimer did bid these out a couple of years ago.
Right.
And did not accept the labor, only accepted the material, and then did the labor himself.
Yeah, because I think the material, if I remember correctly, was probably about 125,000 for the material, and I don't know in terms of how much material we need. I couldn't think it would be much more, if more than what we put at the Justice Center, but.
Well, the issue is, as I understand it, the difference is, and once again, we can get into this in detail, but the difference is that what you had on the Justice Center are basically large, shaped windows. The problem here is, if you actually take a look at these shapes, you're talking about these prison shaped, 30 of these prison shaped things. Each one of them has to be uniquely cut. Each one will have a terrific amount of waste, and each one will have a lot of labor.
Okay.
So you can't, I had this brief conversation with Matt and others, and you really can't look at your cost per square foot. I can't tell you what it's going to be, but you can't simply look and extrapolate from what happened at the Justice Center, because it's really a different kind of product. On the other hand, the difference at the Justice Center was you obviously had to see through the windows. So you had no choice but to use the dot product. You may have other
Yeah.
choices here with opaque products. And the price we got for the opaque product was from the same company that does the dot product. We haven't really thoroughly explored what else might be out there to, if we wanted to do artwork, just opaque coverings.
And we would bid this out, right, Ron, if this
Oh,
was included,
absolutely,
right? So,
absolutely.
Have to, yeah.
and I think just as, I think most of the board members were on the board at the time, but when we did present the campus transformation, the expansion, right, council was aware that at some point we are projecting a negative balance and it wasn't, I think it was projected in 27 if without the birds, like we knew.
We're gonna have a negative balance.
No matter what. So I think that's important to note that that was presented to council because at that time, County Executive Budish and council asked that we go more into our capital reserve to fund the expansion.
Yeah,
So we
just-
knew what we were doing.
That's,
then.
I mean, I think that's a very critical point. is
Yeah.
We
That's it.
we had the funds in our account. The county asked to tap into them.
More than what was originally
Significantly more,
proposed.
yeah.
The original.
And they understood that they're tapping into them, but
Yeah.
that brought with it the liability for future
Right.
deficits,
Right.
and that was
So I think that
understood.
if I look at,
Yeah.
if I look at the agenda, I think that should come up here when we present this budget, right? But I'm glad you brought
Okay.
that up.
Yeah.
Glad you brought
Yeah,
that
go
up.
ahead.
Cause I would just add, Mayor, we could save it for if
Right.
George is presenting, but you know, without that additional 4+ million that we took out,
Right.
we're in the black for the next 5 years, right?
Okay.
So we're obviously a little bit more in the red with the addition of the 700,000, but council at least knew at the time that we knew we would be more in the red at some point because of the request to have the convention center contribute more to the project.
Okay, that's great.
Sure.
All right, so,
Curious if we've looked at the possibility, I think maybe just too cost prohibitive, but of replacing the glass.
Oh, but that would be that would be hugely expensive. And we'd be into many millions of dollars to do that. I mean, we
Wow.
did just that one, just the very flat surface, and that, the 412 was not to replace the glass, that was the upgrade from
Right.
normal glass to this, this glass is very expensive glass, so
And
it
it's
would
all
be,
custom.
all right,
it would be many millions of dollars. I mean,
okay, so, I think it's appropriate this time that we go to George for executive director report and comment.
Okay, if everybody looks at the presentation, the budget presentation this sheet here. Did everybody look at theirs? Yeah,
For Michael Olby and Rashonda, they have this, right?
Yeah, and it's up
Alright, so
on the
this is
screen now.
Budget, I think there's two presentations on this budget, one, with the, bird cost and one without.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
all right, so I just want to make sure everybody's on the same page.
Yep. So everybody,
Attachment, I'm sorry, which attachment is that?
It is, Michael, it's
On the screen.
it's on the screen.
it's on the screen here, you see it?
Not yet, I'm not seeing the share screen.
Rashonda, do you see it?
Yes, I see it. Presentation without bird mitigation costs.
I see it now, yeah, the cash flow, yeah.
I want to run through this real quickly, but so everybody understands it.
So you got two.
Two of them, with and without,
The first one you're presenting is with.
yeah.
Okay.
And, what is that, the one with?
The first one's
No,
without.
Without.
Oh, without, sorry.
All right, but the important thing is that we start with the very first line, the $4 million on the very first line. What do we have is, we have two accounts. We have an operating account, and we have a capital fund. And that's the second one. That 4 million traces back into ASM's business plan. And then if you look at that plan on page like 31, that's the bottom line number. So you can get all the detail that comes into that number, whatever they spend their money on, all those things by looking at the plan. So we pick that number up at 4 million deficit. Then we have what the rent the county pays us, 5.4 million. And then we have the CCC has some miscellaneous expenses such as insurance, director's insurance, legal fees, accounting fees, and our salaries. And that's the 478. And that comes down to 917,000 of operating income. Now, we picked that number up on the next one coming down is the 917. We picked it up, and I don't want to go through all for everybody, but I just want you to at least understand a little bit of it. What we do there is we take capital and we transfer it 2.1 million to down below the third account, which is our capital reserve fund.
So people will understand, so you're transferring 2.1 million into the capital reserve account every year.
Every year.
That's coming from where?
That's coming from our operating fund.
All right, from the operating.
Yeah,
Okay.
and so you can see that at the end of, and then we can make an additional contribution, but the board has to approve that. That's why we suggested here, additional would be 300,000, without, the bird, thing.
300,000
With,
Yeah.
No,
without,
without.
First one's without.
and then second one, we're transferring 1 million to cover the bird.
but this one does not have the birds, and I believe you're proposing to contribute $1 million if we don't do the
Oh, yeah,
birds.
you're looking at, yes, okay, yes, that's the second.
Yeah,
Which one you on the second page?
Yeah, he's on second,
I'm without the birds.
No, that's with the birds.
that's what,
The millions.
The
with
one
birds.
that is without says without on the top,
Okay,
at least in today's handout.
oh,
Yeah.
they're, okay, sorry, I'm
In your
using the
folder.
one you sent.
Right.
Okay,
Before-
it's a little different. Okay.
George, what is the balance in the operating budget
well, it's,
or in the operating account?
the operating cash.
We're drawing down that 2.125 and 300
Yeah,
and transferring it from.
yeah, it starts at, the operating cash at the beginning of the year is 3 million. Minus those numbers, it comes down at the end of the year, we're projecting, operating budget to be, cash to be 1.6 million. Then
Where does you said the 2.125 and the 300 is transferred from,
from the operating. Everything comes into everything comes in the operating account first. The
is
rest,
there is there a large excess balance on that operating?
well, that's, at the beginning of the year, it was 3.1. And, at the end of the year.
I got it,
One point six. So that'll be the operating account balance at the end, 1.6. And then the section down below is the capital, cash, flow. So we show the 2.1 coming into that account below. The 300,000 coming into that account. We show what the beginning balance was, and then we show the expenditures. And after the expenditures, we're predicting the operating cash at the end of next year to be $112,000.
All right, so so everybody, 2.1. The 2.1 is a number that was derived, how and was it for?
Well, 2.1 was kind of a number that was picked up as a budgeted number, but it could change each year. If we have, we've had some years where we had to do IT for 2 million, we have the lights.
So,
Whoa.
We had to.
Just a minute,
Yeah.
the 2.1, it's not, it's the amount that is put into the capital repair account every year. That does not vary.
right,
Unless
can
you've
add
made,
to it.
it's never varied
We
up
can-
until now.
We can add to it.
Well, we've never done it, but you could, but that is the amount that was based on the study that was done right at the outset as to
Right.
what the appropriate amount was to support a facility this type.
But we have.
and I said that just so everybody knows the context. 2.1 is not just an arbitrary number, the number because you want to fund the capital account so that we wouldn't have to run back to the county to make the capital repairs,
So,
right? Because that's gonna come back to when you talk about the $4 million, right?
the 450,000 in rent was set up to pay operating expenses for the convention center. If it's written in there that if we need money, additional monies for capital improvements, we're to present that to the county and the county will fund that. Up until this point, we have never had to go back to the county for additional money. We put 5 million back into that project, and that's what we wanted to do, and that's how we're budgeting, is to give 5 million back to the county for the project. They wanted an additional 4 million, and we told them that's gonna cut us short, we're not gonna have the money for the future. You can see where we start to go into red in the future. Okay,
All right, so you have
yeah.
so you got 112 at the end of 24, right?
In the capital account.
In the
And
capital
we
account,
have 37,000 at the end of 25,
in the capital account.
capital account, in the capital account.
And then 212 and 28, right?
Yeah,
I mean, 26.
yes, 212 and
Then you
26.
go negative 27.
Yep.
And 28.
Yep.
And this is if we do not.
If we don't
do
yes.
the verb project.
Right.
Everybody clear on that? I mean, smart people at the state, so this is not rocket science here, right? Nope. Let's go to the next page.
Okay, next page is with the 700,000. We would then, everything stays the same, except when we're transferring the funds, we put the 2.1 in the middle group out of our operating plus $1 million. And the board has to obviously approve that. That's
So the only difference here is you add the 700,000
Yep,
here.
yep.
And the 700,000 could be 700,000, it could be 600,000, could be 400,000, could be 300,000. We don't know until we bid it out, correct? All right,
It's a
but-
budget, not a
Yeah,
bid.
it's a budget number, so we're using this, really, the long story short is, with the, if you do it, instead of going red in 28, we go, instead of going red in 27, we go red in 26.
exactly.
All right, questions? Comments? All right, so,
I have a question.
Mr. John,
So, as I'm seeing the red, I'm a bit concerned with seeing the red, obviously, but, and maybe this is a conversation for a different time, but what or when will we start thinking through how do we, increase the income so that we perhaps will have a less red than what we see right now?
good question, so let's, I'm glad you asked it, so let's start from the beginning here. So, Ron, you tell me, of all the convention centers in the United States, how many are making money?
Only one that I'm aware of.
Right, so,
Which was that?
That is Columbus.
Well, that's the parking.
That's because of parking
right, so.
And land rent.
So this group.
and land rent.
This preceded me, but this group was always informed from the beginning that this was not going to be a moneymaker.
Right.
It's a lost leader to draw in the additional things that come in, restaurants, eating, bed tax, other things that are generated off this center, the energy that's needed, right?
So
There's
Correct.
only one in the country making money,
that I'm aware of.
right? Okay.
So, Mr. Chairman, to that point, and to Roshanda's question, would it make sense when we provide this negative cash flow? I know we have seen it before and on this board, the economic impact somewhere at the bottom.
Right.
You know, we can have
Yeah,
the
that'd be
details
great.
later, but sure, the economic impact of the activities of the convention at the bottom year by year, whatever that estimate is.
Yeah, I think we can get it. I've seen that before, so Ron, we can dig that out, and Michael Roshana, we can send it to you, right? Because it's an excellent
Thank
question.
you.
Right, make sure everybody has this, because I'll make sure that everybody's clear on what we're doing.
Some of us present bankers and former bankers get nervous
Yeah.
with negative cash flow.
Absolutely. Thank you.
So my question, am I correct in this? If we didn't tap into the $4 million, with or without this budget, we would not have gone into the red,
Right,
correct?
right.
So the purpose of going into the red is the 4 million, not, it's incorrect to say that the bird issue is what's putting us in the red.
No.
We
Right.
would have been we're in the red because of the 4 million,
million.
not because of the bird issue.
Right. All right,
And without,
least for the next 5 years.
yes, and without the 4 million, we could have done the bird and still not go into the red.
because George, I'm assuming we have a very conservative project, because we don't know. We have a projection in here, what we think that the addition is going to, the expansion is going to yield here,
Correct.
right? But we won't really know until we really get into,
We think we're being conservative on it.
Right.
too.
Correct.
But it's a simple calculation, add 4.2, you're not in the red. Simple as that.
Mr. Chair, if I could add to the projections that we showed to council and the executive about how much economic impact the expansion would have
right?
is greater than any of these red numbers,
Correct.
Oh,
right? I mean, that was the
We already-
sales pitch
We're already seeing it too.
Exponentially.
of,
Correct.
right, not even close. So
We're already
I,
seeing it.
I think to Mr. Obi's point, right, council and the exec made a decision to invest a lot of money.
Right.
And we are hoping, right, for the city and the county that the economic impact is way greater than any of these losses with or without the bird. So I
Correct.
think that's just a important.
Yeah, because
Point to your-
I wanna make sure, because we put up this discussion for a couple weeks so people can generate their questions. I wanna make sure that everybody has opportunity
Yeah.
to do their bit, right? And say their part and concerns or questions, and everybody has a clear contextual understanding of what's going on, right?
I'd just like to make a comment on the 4 million. I mean, I was not here at the time, but obviously that decision was made. And if the 4 million had not come from this capital reserve, it would have had to come from another source.
No.
We would have financed
It would
it
have been
over 20
financed.
years. at the low interest
But there
rate.
still would have been a cost to it.
It would have been, but I mean, it puts us down, we're gonna have to go back and ask for cash to pay these bills. Where you had refinanced the 4 million, which is what our proposal was. We put it 5 million, the county puts it 5 million. There's naming rights money that's already sitting in an account there, that Huntington has already paid us a couple million, and then finance the difference.
The difference was that we do anticipate that we are going to increase our revenues because of this addition. So the original concept was to increase the financing by the $4 million, over 30 years, then the revenue would catch up with it so that we wouldn't have an immediate bump. That was what the original proposal was. And the original proposal was to keep enough in the capital repair account to avoid having to go back. But that was the negotiation or the discussion was, no, we want that 4 million back now. So,
And the expense of financing, we already incurred that, to add 4 million, what's gonna increase the expense.
Okay, thank you.
All right, questions? All right, if there are no questions, we'll get to the reason we're here. You have the budget you're presenting to us is well, you got two budgets
Yes,
here.
right.
You got two budgets
Exactly.
here, right? So I guess I'm gonna ask for a motion to approve the budget with,
Yeah, you don't have to transfer. this
right,
money.
right, because that's really the question.
Yeah.
Right, are we approving a budget with the
Mr. Chair, I'd move to approve the budget with the burn mitigation for the 2024 budget.
Second.
so it's been moved properly second, all in favor signify.
Discussion?
Discussion.
So two questions, and I guess it's already been moved, so it's on the table,
Yes,
but my
on the
question
table.
was,
All right.
since the staff gave us two budgets, is that the budget that the staff was recommending for us to move forward with? Is that the budget that the staff believes meets the mission of what the board and the CCCFDC is supposed to be doing for the convention center?
Only thing I'm concerned with is that we do our due diligence on this project to make sure we're doing the right thing.
So that doesn't exactly answer my question. If you had presented a budget
Yeah.
to the board to approve, is that the budget that you believe is the budget we should be considering? And again, I know it's already a motion, so
Yeah.
we will move forward, but
We'll let the board decide that. I'd rather the board decide it. We don't know. I don't know whether that's the right thing to do or not. I just know I want to do more homework on it. If we do pass this budget, I want to make sure that we've done a thorough homework on it. That's the best, we get the best process for the best price.
so along that line, I'd actually like to introduce a substitute to the motion. I would like to introduce that we approve or move forward with the budget without the birds. I feel that there are a lot of things that we don't know. I agree with the councilwoman that we may be able to reduce that cost. And as the Jeff, the attorney noted, the cost that we got so far was an estimate for one vendor who does a certain type of thing that we wouldn't necessarily need to do. I would argue that in the proposal, the idea that we could do artwork out there, which actually could benefit the convention center, could be done with a different type of vendor and get us to the same result. But I feel that we don't have enough information today to set aside that large amount of money. And while it may be a small amount of the overall convention center budget money, ultimately, when we are coming back to the county and asking for money, in my opinion, that's a large amount of money to be asking for. And so I would like us to do that due diligence and come back to the board with a better number and a better sense of where this is going to be, and then go ahead. So,
So we have a motion on the floor. You have
Yes.
an amendment to the motion,
yes,
all right?
I think you need a second to the amendment to the motion.
Right.
Okay, sorry.
We're
I
gonna
have
get
a-
there.
We've been through this a few times.
Hold on, Mike, we're gonna, you're in my wheelhouse now. We're gonna
Sorry.
get there, all right? So let us talk about, I want everybody to have the full contextual picture of
Sure.
what's happening. This board has to present to the county an approved budget by the 15th of November. This is the only day that I see that that's gonna happen,
I don't come back for a third day.
right?
I mean, there's,
Right.
we tried this one.
So I just wanna make sure everybody knows. All right, so there was a motion and seconded here. there's an amendment here that Debbie has put on the floor. It needs a second. So I'm asking, is there a motion to Debbie's second? I mean,
Is there a
Debbie's.
second to Debbie's
There's
motion?
there's a second to Debbie's amendment to the motion.
I'll second just because I want to ask a question.
Yeah.
If we approve the budget now, which is required to be approved, could the board come back and add supplemental budget to cover birds when we have a firm sense of what the project scope is? You know,
Could you come back and amend
Yeah.
the budget?
Can I make a comment?
Yeah.
Although I don't want to be out of order or
Right.
anything, but as somebody that's done a lot of budgets over my time, this is just a budget.
Right.
Yeah.
That it does not mean that we have to spend $700,000 in any year. It doesn't mean that we can't ask for more money from the county or whomever if we need more money. It doesn't mean we have to put up a certain type of film on the vents or not. It's just a budget. And if we don't spend it, great. If we do spend it, we'll deal with it at the time,
Right, if it
but it's
costs-
just a budget.
If it costs more, you come back and amend the budget, right?
That's right.
But
Okay.
I think,
Mr. Chair, can I add to that? Just, I could say that about nearly every capital item we have on here. It is a estimated budget. We don't know what
Placeholder.
the
Right.
lighting is gonna cost to replace, right? We had a lighting presentation at the last meeting. So I mean, I would say then, if we're picking one thing out, then why are we not having that discussion for everything? Because we don't know what everything's gonna cost us. That's why, to
So,
Tim's point, it's just a
It's
budget.
it's a budget.
the
It's-
one thing that I see everybody agreeing on is that, I think, is that this is something that we have to. There's a question as to what we're going to do, whether it's gonna be art, whether it's gonna be a film, whether it's gonna be something else. But at least I get the sense that we're all,
I don't know that yet.
well, maybe, okay, but where I'm coming at it is if we're coming at this from the standpoint that this is something that needs to be addressed, then I'd rather have a placeholder than have a budget without giving notice that this is an issue that needs to be
So,
addressed.
so the budget is the budgetary number is a good faith estimate on what we think it could cost.
It's the best number that we
Right,
have under the
that's the best number we have.
circumstances for the budget.
If you move forward with it and go forward, and you have to bid it out and come back less, then you're in-house, he's adjusted his budget down. If there's more, you come back, right? But the question is here, because I don't know what everybody's thinking here, right? So nobody's polled anybody here. So Debbie has a motion, an amendment to the motion on the table. She needs a second.
I have a second. You said you seconded it because you wanted to have further discussion.
yeah, I wanted to have the discussion.
So we're in discussion of the amendments,
So no, we had a discussion.
and I will,
You have
further-
a second.
I have a
Or your
second.
First and a second, all right?
yes.
All right. If you got a first and a second, all right, we're gonna do a roll call here.
So I just want one more discussion point on, before we go to the roll call. If the budget comes up to be 700,000 to pay for this, that's why I'm asking for the amendment. I think we have a lot more work to do on this. And I think it is a different situation because we were sent an original budget that this was not included in. After we were sent that budget, we were sent a second budget. So I do feel like it's being treated special and different, and obviously we're spending a lot of time on it. And so I think to make sure that we get it right, we should vote for the budget that we were originally sent that did not include it, do our due diligence, come back to the board and add it if the
Well-
board feels it's the right thing with a more accurate price.
Well,
Yeah.
say it again. Go ahead.
Nothing.
No, let's say we do, no,
I think,
cause here, let me just say this, before you go. We're all sitting here from different leagues here, right? Right? So I'm not in the Warrensville League here, right? I'm in the CCCFDC League, right? Our responsibility is to provide to the county a budget, right? I'm not sitting here like we, them, us, and
Yeah.
Here's the deal, right? Now Debbie has a first, an amendment that's been first and properly seconded here. We're gonna vote on that right now, right? And if not, if that passes, then we can get to Debbie's point. If not, we're going back to the original amendment on the board and see if that gets seconded, right? I mean, approved. Right,
Okay,
all right, roll call.
Debbie Berry,
Yes,
Jeff Epstein,
No.
Majid McCoo,
No.
Trevor McAleer,
No.
Michael Obi,
No.
Tim Oftermatt,
No.
Rashonda Smith,
Yes.
Mayor Sellers.
No. We have a motion on the table moved by Trevor and seconded by Tim for the approval of this budget with the bird acumen inside. All in favor, we'll do a roll call here. Who's that?
Debbie Berry,
No.
Jeff Epstein,
Yes.
Majid McCoo,
Yes.
Trevor McAleer,
Yes.
Michael Obi,
Yes.
Tim Oftermatt,
Yes.
Rashonda Smith,
No.
Mayor Sellers.
Yes. Now we're gonna get to the reason why we're here. Vote on this today. Everybody's had enough time to look at it? Form your opinions? We have an emotion that's been moved and seconded and approved. Going to vote on this budget that's before you, with the bird,
We did just do that.
We did. Maybe it was just to include it or not.
no, that was,
It was the
Yeah,
amendment was voted
yes, we
down
did
the
just do it
first
on the
round,
second time.
And
Yeah,
the second
yeah.
time
I'm
we voted
sorry.
on the original budget, so it is done.
so we're sitting here, we have approved this budget with the bird.
Correct.
Correction. Now, let me ask you a question. Do the calendar, what's the calendar, what's the full calendar? That's 7-2?
6-2.
6-2, it's 8 of us, right?
Yeah, because Dave's not here.
Yeah.
It's 6-2 in favor. Alright. Now, where does this go from here? But, I mean, we've supplied the county with the budget, right? That's been approved.
Yeah,
Right, so, yeah, let's go back, because I want to go back to this, because Debbie got a legitimate concern here. I want to make sure, and the people behind Debbie have a legitimate concern, right? So I don't want to poo-poo that, right? Rashonda's got a legitimate concern. This could have been avoided if the proposal we had on the table from the beginning was what? 5 million, we hold 4, finance the rest.
Oh, yeah.
So this is nothing that this group created. I want to be clear on that. Right, this is just a ramification, right? And we don't even know if it to be true yet because these are projections.
Correct.
But they're also very thin.
Yeah,
We don't have a lot of
then
room.
projections.
Yeah, we don't have a lot of room
We have
there.
$4 million in the sitting in the capital, it'd be a good lot.
But we
But at
did,
some point, this was gonna happen.
we told them, administration that we were gonna be very thin here. That we would give 5 million, but not the 4 million. We need that to run the operation. We gotta be strengthened. Now, I want to make something clear that we're going to, this idea, bird mitigation, that we're gonna go through our normal procedure for doing it.
To see what we are.
We wanna get bids, we wanna
This
make
is
sure.
just a.
We are not approving any projects.
No, this
today.
is a
This is
placeholder.
simply a
This is a
placeholder on a
number,
budget.
Right, this is a placeholder.
That whether we go
So
through
we're
with it or
coming
not
back
is
to
a
this.
separate vote.
But I do,
Not approved
Majid, I want to say this, so I'll make sure everybody is clear here because this meeting is about to come to an end.
Thank you.
If this group. If this group had not moved on that expansion at the Global Center, how red would we be? How red would we be?
To answer your question,
Ron.
Mayor, the projections were showing a decline in sales and economic impact for the convention center. Moving forward,
You've been in,
Mayor, you wouldn't see that increase in net income.
That's correct.
Year over
that
year
would be
without
going
that.
down, and as
And
I,
that's just direct income to here, to your point.
so all right, this is all the county, the council, the executive, when they moved on this, right? It was the right thing to do. Right? Now, we're still working ourselves out of it. But I don't think anybody here that voted on this was thinking, and anybody had to approve it, because they had to approve it, thought this was the wrong thing to do.
Right.
So as we go forward here, As it relates to the bird issue, we still got, what are the steps here?
Well, so obviously now we know that, there's a number of things to study and we will undertake, ASM, PMC, we will all undertake the study. We'll look at different solutions. We will talk with the county, Matt Reimer and others, to investigate what is there. I think that we ought to investigate the art solution to see if we can even get contributors, people who are interested in public art. So I think there's a lot of opportunities here. Obviously, there's no guarantee or assurance, but I think we're at the beginning of the investigation. The only reason this came up now is because we have a budget and we had to figure out whether or not, it's a budgeted item. But I think we have a lot of investigation to do. And I don't think it's all the options. So what we do or don't do are still on the table. So by the way, just because we have a budget, it doesn't mean we have to do anything.
So we're not approving doing anything without the examination of what all the options are to a full
The
extent.
way I understand it is there are separate approvals.
Yeah, separate.
We are not approving a project today. What we approved is a placeholder for a potential project on the budget. It needs to go to the county would have to approve it. At that point, approve the budget. Not the approve the budget, okay.
No.
But
We also have a secondary thing that if we go over 150, I think.
That's correct.
that we always have, even though it's in the budget, if it's over 150.
Yeah, we have a whole separate process.
an actual project will have to go through approval like any
Yeah.
other project.
Exactly.
And that holds true for a lot of things on the list.
Michael,
Yeah.
Michael, Shonda, are we clear that this is, we just holding here to dig into, we reserved the spot for this to occur. Now we're gonna do due diligence to find out exactly what is going on.
Yeah,
And then
Mr.
we'll come back
Chairman, I've been trying to jump in to make a comment since Debbie had her, but I guess I'm in a disadvantage because I'm virtual. So you asked me to wait, but then everybody's been asked to jump in. But anyway, I just wanted to, what we're doing is no different from any organization. You approve a budget, the management has the fiduciary responsibility to make sure they manage not to exceed the budget. So it doesn't mean because something is in the budget, you automatically start writing blank checks. Management has to do its due diligence to not to exceed the budget and try to be good stewards. So that's why I say this. Anyway, that's the comment I was trying to make to Debbie's amendment, that the budget is not, hey, go start writing checks to everything on the budget.
You're right, Mike.
Thank you.
You're right. I'm sorry, I got it going. So, but
That's okay. I know it's a busy topic.
This is just the step, right? So
Yes.
I don't think we're complete. We at least have a placeholder. George, I want to make sure this board is clear. We're working with the county on this to ensure where we're going, right? Right, they're a partner of ours here.
The county and county council, absolutely.
Make sure that
I have to go. I had to leave at
everybody knows,
12:30.
we are
Sorry.
we are in partnership here to see that this is doing the best for the folks of Cuyahoga County. Okay? All right, with that being said, I'm sorry, Ron.
Now that that's completed, just one quick point of interest. ASM on Saturday night signed a deal with Legends. Legends has purchased ASM Global. We now go through.
Really?
Yeah, it's a big one, huh?
Uh-huh.
We now go through the FTC for approvals, which we think will happen probably sometime first quarter of next year.
Do we get Yankee and Cowboys tickets?
I don't know the answer to that. My speculation is no. We've been through this a few times before. It's interesting because this is the first time that I'm aware of that we've not sold to a private equity company. It's a hospitality company, so I think that there could be some very positive things that come from that. I don't foresee anything from my boss down changing to the point of this board's concern.
Okay.
So I'll just say it that way. If you have any questions, get with me.
Oh, yeah. Legends once offered to buy PMC, and I only wished I could have sold it.
All right. With
That's
that being
big.
said, I'm gonna ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All right, this meeting stands adjourned. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. This meeting stands adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
everybody for your time.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Well,
Okay.
So Trevor, you know that Legends, you remember John Katz, who we?
Yeah.
Legends bought John, Legends